instructions for the public to attend the meeting through telephone, internet, and other means of remote access, and also providing the ability for persons attending the meeting not in person to hear each other at the same time. So we can hear each other, we just can't see each other tonight. So with that, I will ask you to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. And I know Brandy can share screen, so maybe she could share her screen with the flag. There it is. And I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. We have a published agenda. Are there any proposed amendments to this evening's agenda? And I just need you to, I see Councilmember Chang has raised his hand. Go ahead, Councilmember Chang.
Mr. Mayor, I have received a call about 10 minutes ago from County Commissioner Charlotte Garrido. She says that she is at home in Olalla and she does not have internet tonight.
Okay. So this doesn't sound like she's going to make it to this evening's meeting.
She would like to, reschedule for another time.
Okay. All right. Thank you for giving me that information. So it sounds like we need to reschedule that.
Maybe rescheduled to a work study as well.
Yeah, the reason it got scheduled for tonight was because we don't have a work study in December. So maybe January's work study. Okay. Thank you for that. Councilmember Ashby.
Yes, I was just going to move to approve the agenda as amended and published.
Second.
Okay, so a motion by Councilmember Ashby, second by Councilmember Clausen. And as it relates to Veterans Park, I think, you guys were all given some information, and so we can have a brief discussion ourselves, what next steps are and where we're at with that process. But it's unfortunate that Commissioner Garrido couldn't join us tonight. So
yeah, I think that's a great idea, Mayor. Let's continue the conversation this evening.
Yes. Okay. So there's a motion, a second. Any other discussion of the proposed agenda? Hear none. All in favor of approving the agenda as presented, please say aye and use the raise your hand feature.
Aye.
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 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Look at that. I got all of you. Wonderful. All right. We have an approved agenda. We are to our first citizen comment period, and for members of the public, and that is for any item on this evening's agenda. So you've got 3 minutes to address the council, and I would consider the Veterans Park item on the agenda this evening since it was published that way. So anyone wanting to make comment on related to Veterans Park, you're welcome to do so at this portion of the meeting if you desire to do that. So if you could raise your hand if you wish to be to address the council, and the clerk will promote you to the meeting.
At this time, I see no one raising their hands.
And I don't either. So, okay. So with that, we will move on to our consent agenda. And we have a published consent agenda with 2 items. Is there a motion? Councilmember Ashby, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I move to approve the consent agenda as published.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Ashby, a second by Councilmember Rosa Pepe. And to approve the consent items as presented. We need further discussion of those 2 items. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the consent items as presented, please raise your hand and say aye.
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 Okay. Anyone opposed?
Mayor, this is Jay. My hand I tried to raise my hand. I missed it. So please, I did say aye.
Yeah. And Sean, if maybe you might want to put your first name ahead of it just says council member on the screen. If you put your first name first.
Got it.
And that, because you're just showing on the screen, it's just showing us. There you go. All right. And just a little easier to tell who you are. We don't have any presentations. We don't have any public hearings. And our first item is item 7A. It's an adoption of an ordinance amending the 2021-2022 biennial budget. Mr. Crocker, this is yours.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm bringing forward a budget amendment tonight, and the proposed amendment would provide for additional expenditure authority, including transfers between the current expense fund 001 to the capital construction fund 302 for two purposes. The first purpose is to transfer the cash needed from our general fund to our 302 fund to complete the property acquisition of the Kitsap Bank property. And again, this is for cash flow purposes. Once we receive the reimbursements from the state, and if needed, the Kitsap Public Facility District, then we would transfer those funds back from the 302 fund to the general fund. The second transfer ask is for additional expenditure authority for Etta Turner Park project. As that project's coming to a close, we are now estimating it would need approximately an additional expenditure authority of roughly $25,000. And the proposal is to have this money come from our rec reserve fund, which resides in our current expense fund 000. So a transfer would be needed from our current expense fund 001 to the 302 fund to complete the Etta Turner Park project. So those are the two transfers that make up this budget amendment. And in total, the real additional expenditure authority is primarily for that additional Etta Turner Park expense. The rest is kind of cash flow to address cash flow timing and needs. So staff have talked about this with the Finance Committee last week, and staff is bringing forward this proposal and would recommend approval.
Councilmember Clausen, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, as soon as I can get myself off of mute, I'll do just fine. Mr. Mayor, the Finance Committee did talk about these issues and concurred with moving this forward. So with that, I move to adopt an ordinance amending ordinance number 035-20 as amended by ordinance number 015-21 and by ordinance number 032-21 and by ordinance number 050-21, the 2022 biennial budget for the city of Port Arthur.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Clausen, a second by Councilmember Cacciardi. Now, Noah, just a question, sorry I didn't ask this before now. The $25,000 for Etta Turner Park, does that include the $15,000 that the Rotary Club donated for those improvements, or is it $25,000 plus the $15,000 for that total cost of that project?
Yeah, this is an addition. So we already have the $15,000 that Rotary contributed. We already have the $25,000, which the committee, or the city has already committed to the project for a total project budget of $40,000. But currently we are on pace for an additional $25,000 to come from the rec reserve. So a total city contributions in the neighborhood of up to $50,000 when this is all said and done.
Okay. And if you haven't been down there, 90% of the work has been done. The new street lights are installed, and it looks very good. But obviously, it costs more than we anticipated. So, Councilmember Cacciardi.
Yeah, during the Finance Committee meeting, Noah, we talked about, this is obviously just a kind of a cash flow issue on the flow of these dollars. And we talked about you getting additional confirmation that the PFD would provide escrow instructions for the reimbursement of these funds. Did you have any luck reaching out to them?
Yeah, we've been in contact with, of course, the KPFD, and there's a new executive director over there, and they have shared the communication that they have submitted to the county, who acts as their treasurer, to remit the $1 million to the escrow account. So that we have seen the communication. I haven't seen that wire come through to escrow yet. So I can wait on title to respond that they've received those funds from the county on behalf of KPFD. And if they do, then we have no need to cover that $1 million cash flow transfer. So we'll just back down to only cover what we need.
Right. And so for the sake of the full council, right, if we can get this all, done via escrow, which is the way it's going to happen, this may not have to actually play out this way, but it's just in lieu of, I guess, just as kind of a backstop. But if there's any additional questions for those not on the Finance Committee, Noah could be able to answer those.
Yeah. So we know we have the commitments from the Public Facilities District for the million. We know we have the executed documents also for the Department of Commerce. It's just whether or not those monies get in our hand before we need to close. And so we're confident we'll get reimbursed. It's just the timing challenge, or whether or not we can get our hands on the cash before we need to close at escrow. So I see Councilmember Diener, your hand's raised.
One more time, I think.
I think I had wanted to hear more about the reimbursement process, just so that the public was aware that this was not out of city pocket. And I also wanted to hear a little bit more about I wanted the public to hear a little bit more about the Etta Turner Park improvements, and those have both been covered. So I'm going to lower my hand.
Okay. And as you can see from my video, we've found the magic box we needed to check to correct our video challenges. So
Yay.
Gotta love it when they do force updates upon you, and you don't know that it's coming. So other questions related to these? Councilmember Rosepepe, go ahead. You're muted though. Councilmember Rosepepe, you're muted.
I'm sorry, I got the picture and forgot to speak. Kind of a tangential question. I know at one time leading to Etta Turner Park, they had talked about possibly lighting the bridge. Is that a dead issue, or is that something that's still on the line?
We can't light it year round because of it's a fish passage, but the electrical outlets have been installed, and Christmas garland and lights are going to go up on the bridge in the next week or so. And so you'll see that the bridge light up at least through the holiday season. But we can't have it lit up year round. We wouldn't be allowed to by department. I think it's Ecology would be the agency that wouldn't allow
I'll take the holidays. So thank you.
Yep. So yes, that was part of those improvements. It was a pretty extensive project. We had to run new power all the way from Bay Street down through the park, new pedestals for 3 light fixtures, and the light fixtures that we put in are double-headed. So I encourage you to go down, in particular at night. It really lights the park up nicely. It's much safer down there. Very nice improvement. Everything in construction though is costing much more than it did when we started these things. So I thank the South Kitsap Rotary Club for their contribution of $15,000. And at one point we were splitting this project at of about $30,000, and now we're at north of $60,000, maybe even 65. Other questions or comments on this matter? We have a motion on the floor. Okay, hearing none, you'll be voting on the adoption of an ordinance amending the 2021-22 biennial budget. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes unanimously. And I got all flustered here with our video problems. We do have our other city attorney, Jennifer Robertson, filling in for Charlotte Archer this evening. So thank you for being here with us this evening, because of the holiday, Charlotte's other city that she covers or is the city attorney for moved their city council meetings. So Jennifer is filling in, and I'm sure she'll do a fabulous job for us tonight. So thank you, Jennifer. We're to item B, adoption of ordinance clarifying the authority of certain officials to write civil infractions relating to traffic enforcement. So this must be Ms. Robertson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this is a cleanup or housekeeping ordinance. The state legislature this last year passed SB 5051, which required limited commission officers, like the city has historically used for parking enforcement, to go through all of the same training as fully commissioned officers, including the police academy and such, which is not only expensive, but very, very time consuming. So by changing the ordinance, allowing professional non-sworn staff to issue civil infractions, which is what parking is, we can go ahead and continue to operate that way without having to send our limited commissioned parking enforcement staff to the police academy.
Okay, Councilmember Diener.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt an ordinance clarifying the authority of certain officials to write civil infractions related to traffic enforcement.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, a second by Councilmember Lucarelli. I see Councilmember Ashby has raised her hand. Do you have a question or a comment?
I do. First of all, I thank Jennifer or Charlotte, whoever did this update for us. Very nice job. Thank you very much. And mine is a question for I think for the full council, but on page 2 of the ordinance, or page 12 of our packet, they're talking about chain parking. And in that section, we refer to Bay Street. And I am wanting to know if the council would prefer to refer to Bay Street as State Route 166. I would like to see us change how we talk about that state highway, because it seems to be confusing for citizens and members of the community not realizing that is a state highway. And so I think if as we update various ordinances or our code, if we could change the word Bay Street to State Route 166, I think it would be clarifying to our constituents.
Thank you for that comment. Councilmember Diener.
What if we were simply to put one in parentheses next to the other?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that. I just
Okay.
want to make sure that it's clarified to our citizens.
I think that's a good point to list it in both manners. Yeah. Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. I think listing it both ways, because 166 does split from Bay Street down at West Bay. So we need to make sure that we're talking about the correct segment of roadway. The entire segment of the roadway, I guess, would be more appropriate.
Councilmember Rosa Pepe. You muted, sir.
Darn it. No, just in supporting that also, because we know that when we're doing our transportation committee and looking at items and getting feedback, how much confusion. I mean, I've talked to some people that when you talk about the roundabout that will be going in eventually near KFC, people think that that's a city initiative and not a state initiative.
Correct. Other comments or questions? And it sounds like staff, was it clear to you what needs to be amended when in the final document?
The only question I have is the Bay Street section that this code is applicable is this section from Orchard Avenue to Harrison Avenue. So is all of that section State Route 166?
Yes.
Okay, so then if you guys, if the council will make a motion to amend section 3 to include State Route 166 in parentheses next to Bay Street, or if you wanted it State Route 166 and Bay Street in parentheses, however you want it, if you make a motion to amend the ordinance before you pass it, that will be very clear and we can do it without bringing it back to you.
Okay. Councilmember Ashby, is that what you said?
That is exactly the motion I made. Thank you.
Okay, is there a second to that motion? Second. Okay, I got Councilmember Rosa Pepe seconding that motion that Councilmember Ashby made. We just read it from her mind, but Jennifer did articulate it very well. So we're speaking to the amendment. Councilmember Lucarelli, do you have any comment on the amendment?
Yes, I hope that we have Bay Street first with the parentheses 166. Then it's consistent with the listing of the other streets.
I agree.
Okay. I'm certain that's what Councilmember Ashby intended. Other comments or questions related to the amendment? Okay, you'll be voting on an amendment that to modify section 3 to say Bay Street and then parentheses Highway 166. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed to that amendment? Hearing none, the amendment passes unanimously, and now we're back to the main motion. Any other comments or questions related to the main motion, related to parking, certain parking officials? All right, you'd be voting on an ordinance clarifying the authority of certain officials to write civil infractions related to traffic enforcement. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes unanimously. We are to item C, adoption of an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code, chapters 13.04, water and sewer, regarding water and sewer capital facilities charges. Mr. Bond, this is yours.
Yes, good evening, members of council and mayor. The city of Port Orchard has codified its requirements for assessing water and sewer capital facility charges, exceptions, and credits. Amendments have recently been made to Chapter 1304, and additional subsequent revisions to this chapter are needed to resolve inconsistencies from the prior amendments to create a credit agreement process for utilizing CFC credit options for water, to ensure that the updated code is consistent with the terms of prior agreements for water credits and with the city's agreement to purchase the McCormick Water Company, to ensure that water and sewer main extensions are treated equally, and to document the 2021 rate adjustments according to the Consumer Price Index. I want to add to that next meeting, we have negotiated a water CFC credit agreement with McCormick Communities that will be brought forward next meeting if this passes. And so that includes an agreement that McCormick will build certain system improvements and receive credit. And the big difference between the water credit chapter and the sewer credit chapter is there are special benefits under the water section related to McCormick Woods and McCormick West because of the commitments that we made in the 1998 agreement. So you will see that agreement at our next meeting, and it does include a full release from the 1998 purchase and sale agreement in terms of our commitments to McCormick Communities. The staff recommendation is that the City Council approve an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code sections 1304-025, 1304-030, 1304-040, and 13.044 regarding amendments to the city's water and sewer capital facility charges.
Okay, Councilmember Lucarelli.
I move that the city adopt an ordinance amending POMC sections 13.04.025, 13.04.030, 13.04.043, and 13.044 regarding amendments to the city's water and sewer capital facility charges.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Lucarelli, a second by Councilmember Rosapepe. I just want to commend staff on the amount of the culmination of this agreement and all the other things that we have done in the last couple of years. Has been monumental lifts to put our infrastructure needs are far in excess of what we can achieve if we had to do all this work ourselves. And by putting tools in place that allow developers to build this infrastructure in a equitable manner and allow them to get credit for the infrastructure that they build for us, benefits our citizens. It provides a reliable water, sewer and water facilities. It's just, and I just want, we have put so many hours into this, and I just wanted to recognize, Noah, Nick, Mark, and our city attorney for the countless hours that have gone into all of these agreements. And next week, I think, could be the last time that we're talking about water code and sewer code, I hope for quite some time. But thank you all. Thank you all. I know how hard you've worked on all of this because I've been in numerous meetings with all of you in these matters. So Councilmember Diener, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, Mayor, I couldn't have said it any better. I think staff did a great job over the last several years, actually, kind of making all these disconnected prior McCormick agreements come together and work well. I also like that we're tying this to CPI. I think we should be looking at this annually. And then under fiscal impact, it says the credit program is expected to save the city money by eliminating the overhead associated with the city's management of water system improvement projects. And I just was wondering if that could be explained a little bit for the public's benefit.
Well, by us not managing these projects is ultimately they're building them. We simply don't have the manpower assets to, we're barely keeping our head above the water with the projects we're managing. And we had an agreement, the 98 agreement, that required us to do certain improvements that we haven't gotten to yet. And for one, it keeps us out of litigation because we haven't performed yet. But prior to McCormick Communities purchasing the development rights in McCormick Woods, there was really no meaningful development. I mean, there was some development that had happened, but not on the scale that we're seeing today. So we were just simply unprepared. And it would have been a number of years before we could have gotten to many of these improvements. So hopefully that answered your question satisfactorily. And Nick, did I capture that correctly?
Well, I would just add that I think that generally the developer can build these projects for less than the city can, and they're taking on the risk associated with the design and construction. So it's not only saving us the staff time of having to manage construction projects, which we are absolutely at our limit staffing wise for the projects we already have in place, but it also reduces that risk of cost overruns and other unexpected problems.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Other questions or comments? All right, you'll be voting on the adoption of an ordinance amending Port Orchard Municipal Code, Chapters 1304, regarding sewer and water capital facility charges. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Hearing none, the ordinance passes. We are to item D now. Adoption of a resolution supporting the DWSRF 2021 construction loan application for the development of well 11 in the McCormick Woods water system. And this says Jackie Brown, but I don't see Jackie here this evening. So I guess I'm going to pinch hit.
She is in the attendee. I will bring her over now.
Why don't we bring Jackie over then? Because she's much more qualified to do this than me.
All right, she should be here any moment. All right, Jackie, you should be here. Just unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. Good evening, Council and Mayor. For the 2021 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan application for the development of well number 11 in the McCormick Woods Water System Project, the Washington State Department of Health Office of Drinking Water requires acknowledgement that the governing body approves submittal of the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund application, the proposed project, and the estimated amount for funding. Therefore, by the November 30th, 2021 deadline, the City of Port Orchard Public Works Department will be submitting a 2021 construction loan application request in the amount of $8 million for the development of well number 11 in the McCormick Woods water system construction and construction support phases of the project. If successful, the Office of Drinking Water funding will be available to commence with the construction of the development of well number 11 in the McCormick Woods water system project in 2022. And just as a sideline, last year, when we requested the $5 million for this development, we missed it just by a hair, and instead were awarded a $500,000 pre-construction loan, which really puts us pretty assured that we're going to get this. But rather than the 5 million, they've now raised the cap to 8 million. So while we're not sure we're going to need the entire 8 million, we thought we'd go ahead and apply for it because, of course, we don't have to pull funds that we don't need. So that being said, staff recommends that the City Council adopt a resolution, thereby supporting the 2021 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund loan application for the development of well number 11 in the McCormick Woods Water System project as a requirement of obtaining a low interest loan.
Councilmember Lucarelli, I saw your hand.
I move to adopt a resolution thereby supporting the 2021 Drinking Water State Revolving Fund Loan application for the development of well number 11 in the McCormick Woods Water System Project as a requirement to obtain a low interest loan.
Seconded.
A motion by Councilmember Lucarelli and a second by Councilmember Clausen. And I think Councilmember Diener has a question.
Yeah, I had heard some traffic about, some chatter about, why we do these through loans. And I was hoping that, and I sent an email to, so that maybe we could explain why we're doing this now instead of waiting to build 8 million in capital revenues. I think maybe people are not aware of the terms of this loan. I think it's a less than 1% interest rate.
Absolutely.
And we
So-
understand that deferred maintenance is the worst thing you can do. But I was hoping that for people who are watching this, if we could explain why we're advancing on a loan rather than just waiting to build reserve.
Absolutely. I can certainly field that question. Right now, we have a pumping permit from the Department of Ecology that amounts to 540 gallons per minute from wells 1, 2, and 3, which are in the shallow aquifer at McCormick Woods. Well number 11 was drilled several years ago into a deeper, actually 3 levels down aquifer, and raises our pumping capacity to 750 gallons per minute. Now, if we're successful with Foster, we look to almost double that. But right now we have the allotment of 750 gallons a minute. So we absolutely want to take advantage of that. Number one, to get the additional pumping capacity. And number two, to get out of that shallow aquifer, which has more likely impact on streams.
So I don't believe that really answered the question. And I think I've got a better answer for that question. And it relates to what Jackie has provided is absolutely accurate. But remember, we were also under a moratorium for this water service area. And part of our agreement with the city of Bremerton was we're under a gun to move these improvements forward sooner versus later. And so we are moving forward as quickly as we can with these agreements. And if we could do this with cash flow, but it would take a number of years to collect enough cash to do this. And we all know that construction costs are going up exponentially during these times. And the loan is, as you stated, less than 1%. And I believe it's, Jackie, isn't it correct? It's a 20-year loan or is it a 25-year loan?
It is, I believe this is a 20-year loan.
20-year loan at slightly less than 1%. And inflation is right. So if we waited 7 to 10 years, every year, the cost of that construction is going to go up by more than 1%. This is a phenomenal deal for the city to be able to build this infrastructure now, fix our cost to do that, and bring this water online today, and satisfy the terms of our agreement with the city of Bremerton. It's a win-win on numerous levels, and reduce to a certain extent some of we'll bring a little more capacity online and buy a little less water from Bremerton. And once we're successful at Foster, then we won't be then dependent on Bremerton with this new infrastructure that we're building. So
Thank you very much.
Satisfy your question?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for public to hear the reasons why we make these decisions.
Yep. Councilmember Ashby, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I was just going to mention that we have discussed these loans at the Finance Committee because we have taken on a few loans, but in our budgeting process, our finance director is already starting to cash flow what we know will be the debt servicing that we have to do on these. So we're already starting to prepare when we have to start paying the loans back so that we will have a reserve to meet those financial obligations in the future.
Yes, because these loans will largely be paid for from the connection charges from the new homes that are being built. And so what Beck is alluding to there is the reserves, is we're starting to program cash flow reserves in these funds so that in the event that there's a downturn for a year or two in the housing market, that we have adequate cash flow to service the debt without having to lay that on the back of our ratepayers. Councilmember Chang, I see your hand raised.
Yeah, the only thing that I would add to the question that Councilman Diener brought up is that we did hear from people who felt that council should never take out any loans and should only wait and raise money to pay for items before they could buy anything. And I think, as you've just explained very nicely, that does not help us accommodate the growth that we feel is for the greater good.
Yeah. I think there's other examples of debt we're likely going to be issuing in the short run too, in the next year or two. City Hall, I mean, it's going to be a $6 or $8 million endeavor to put windows, siding, and a roof and other upgrades to City Hall. And I think we all likely have mortgages on our homes. And, we recently paid off the mortgage on City Hall, and it's now a time for it to, it's a long-term fixed asset. It's not like we're borrowing money to pay personnel costs. We're borrowing money to pay for assets that have useful lives much longer than the debt that we're incurring. Other comments or questions? Hearing none, we have a motion on the floor regarding adoption of an ordinance. No, we're to the next one. Adoption of a resolution supporting the DW SRF 2021 construction loan application for the development of well number 11. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution is passed. And I'm not sure if Mr. Dorsey had any other items. I don't see any others. So, Ms. Brown, if you're welcome to stick around for the meeting, but you're also welcome to enjoy the rest of your evening if you wish to leave us.
Well, Mayor, I thought I would stay for the next item also in case there are any questions about the new reservoir.
Certainly, you're welcome to stay. So the next item is adoption of a resolution accepting the 580 zone reservoir and establishing the certified construction costs in accordance with contract number 003-07. Mr. Bond.
Yes, in 2007, the city of Port Orchard entered into contract C003-07 with Gem 1 LLC. In 2019, the city approved the first amendment to contract C003-07 with Gem 1 successor, McCormick Communities LLC. The agreement, as amended, required McCormick Communities to construct a new 580 zone reservoir, dedicate it to the city, and provides for a reimbursement of $1,000 per connection within the McCormick area to McCormick Communities. Construction of the 580 zone reservoir is now substantially complete, and in accordance with contract C003-07, McCormick Communities has submitted the certified construction costs for the design, engineering, and construction of the 580 zone reservoir. The City Council is now being asked to accept the 580 zone reservoir and to approve the certified construction costs so that reimbursement may take place. The staff recommendation is that the City Council adopt Resolution 071-21, thereby accepting the 580 zone reservoir and establishing the certified construction cost for the project in an amount of $2,789,915. And just for everybody's reference, we did include a picture of the new reservoir in case any of you haven't been out to see it yet. But we're excited to have this project now behind us. It's always nice to complete things.
Right.
Mayor,
Councilmember Rose Pepe. Sorry, I didn't see you there.
that's fine. Mayor, I move to adopt resolution number 071-21, thereby accepting the 580 zone reservoir and establishing the certified construction cost for the project in the amount of $2,789,915.
Seconded.
Motion by Councilmember Rosa Pepe and a second by Councilmember Clausen. So this is another example of the many agreements related to sewer and water that we've done in the last couple of years. And this infrastructure separates us in the McCormick area from our water storage needs from Bremerton. And it was part of that agreement related to when we lifted the moratorium, and it is paid for from the development of lots in that area. It is the only way the developer gets their credits back. In this particular instance, it's a reimbursement, but they get reimbursed at $1,000 per connection as people connect to the water system out in that area. So this is totally funded and built by the developer. Other questions or comments related to this matter? Councilmember Rosepepe?
Yeah, and I believe that in the future, there'll be another reservoir that will be going up to support McCormick West and North also under the same type of agreement, correct?
It'll be a credit agreement versus a reimbursement agreement. And I believe that's the body of work that's coming before you next week. Is that not correct, Mr. Bond?
That is correct, but it is the December 14th meeting, so 3 weeks from now.
3 weeks from now. That's right. Okay. Councilmember Cacciardi.
Yeah, just a kind of a follow-on comment about, thank you staff and really the entire council that, this is a great example of development paying for development, not the city paying for development, and keeping these costs away from our ratepayers.
Absolutely correct. Councilmember Lucarelli.
And isn't it attractive? The reservoir. Did you ever see the other one over there?
Well, that's Bremerton's reservoir. Ours is much nicer.
This is very nice. Little humor.
All right. Any other comments or questions? I didn't get to pick the paint color. I'm glad you like it. I'm sure those Jackie picked that color.
Looks like a tree.
Perfect.
That was
All right.
It was supposed to.
It was supposed to look like a tree. I like it. All right. You'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution accepting the 580 zone reservoir and establishing the certified construction costs in accordance with contract number 003-07. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is anyone opposed? Hearing none, the resolution passes. We're to item F, adoption of a resolution confirming the appointment of Tim Drury as our municipal judge and authorization of the judicial employment agreement. And this is, who is this one? This is also Ms. Robertson. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this action is appointment of Judge Tim Drury, I should say reappointment. Under the Port Orchard Municipal Code, the mayor appoints and the council confirms the municipal judge. Judge Drury has served Port Orchard for the last 4 years, so this is a reappointment for an additional 4 years. The mayor has determined that he's served effectively and desires to keep him serving the people of Port Orchard in this manner. If passed, this resolution will confirm the appointment as well as authorize the mayor to sign an employment agreement with Judge Drury.
Councilmember Clausen.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution confirming the mayor's appointment of Tim Drury as a municipal judge and authorizing the mayor to execute a judicial employment agreement.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Clausen, a second by Councilmember Ashby. I did like to talk a little about the process and how we got to where we're at. And so currently we're reducing by 4 hours a week the hours that our court is going to, and that's partly related, I think, to COVID. But Judge Drury's done an exemplary job for us. I don't know, those are council members that been in our city government as long as I have. We used to have a jail bill that was much, much higher, even pre-COVID. And Judge Drury does put people in jail when they need to be, but is I guess very conscious of cost to the city. And I'm confident in time we're going to need to add hours back to this contract, but this contract represents what our needs are today. And I use the the state does has a salary commission that looks at judicial salaries, and our municipal judge does the same duties as a district court judge. And we have right up the street, a couple of blocks, Kitsap County's Superior Court and their district court. And so Judge Drury does all the duties that a district court judge does. So I took the state's salary commission and what a district court is compensated at, use the hours that are in this contract, which are 60%, 6% of a 40-hour work week, and use 60% of that judicial salary survey data to support for his compensation in this contract. So just wanted you to have a little bit of an understanding of how we got to where we are in this contract. And I aligned his leave practices and other things very similar also to what the compensation package that a district court judge would get. So Councilmember Diener.
So is that what you meant when you said add hours back will be those at some point, those additional 4 hours?
Could be as needed, and we'll address that when it's needed. But right now it's not needed, and so Judge Drury was very amenable to carving those, dialing those hours back. But as long as we compensated him fairly, and I feel we are utilizing the state salary commission data. So Councilmember Ashby.
Yes, I just want to acknowledge Judge Drury. I believe he does a fine job for us. And he personally helped me this last fall when I had occasion to need to be in Leavenworth for 3 weeks. He provided me internet access from his vacation home in that area. So anyway, he went above and beyond and let me use his internet and have access to his home. So I appreciated that greatly. He does, he didn't have to do that, but he definitely respected the need of the council to have full participation.
Thanks for sharing that. So other comments or questions related to this matter? I'm hearing none. So you'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution confirming the appointment of Tim Drury as our municipal judge. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Hearing none, the appointment has been confirmed. So our next is adoption of a resolution amending resolution 061-21, authorizing an additional one-time personal holiday for employees fully vaccinated against COVID-19. And this is Miss Lund. There you are. Got a scarf on and everything. You're looking festive for the holiday.
I'm actually a little under the weather, so if I start coughing, somebody else will have to cover for me. Good evening, everybody. On August 10th, 2021, the City Council considered a staff recommendation to award an additional personal holiday to employees who were fully vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus. At that meeting, the Council adopted a resolution consistent with staff's recommendation and added a 90% of city employee requirement to achieve fully vaccinated status before the additional personal holiday could be made available to any employees. As you know, the COVID-19 pandemic continues to impact the city employees, citizens, and businesses, and public health officials confirm that the vaccination is a key to slowing the spread of the virus. At the City Council meeting on November 16th, 2021, at the work session, Council requested an amendment to the earlier resolution to remove the 90% requirement. Personal holidays are use or lose by year end, and due to the timing of this proposed change, staff is recommending that the personal holiday be made available for use in 2022 for employees who have proven their fully vaccinated status by December 31, 2021. This eliminates an exacerbation of a staffing problem we always tend to have around the holidays as employees are trying to use leave that they would otherwise lose. Therefore, staff is recommending the City Council adopt the attached resolution amending resolution 060-21 authorizing up to 8 hours of additional personal holiday leave for employees who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19.
Councilmember Clausen.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt a resolution amending Resolution 060-21, providing for a one-time additional personal holiday for employees who are fully vaccinated against COVID-19 as of December 31st, 2021.
Second.
And that motion was Councilmember Clausen. That was the second. Councilmember Pichardi? Yeah, okay, thank you. You guys you were quick. Questions, comments, debate? I know this was taken up last week at the, I believe it was last week at the work study, and I was absent. So does this reflect your the dialogue from that meeting? Councilmember Aspie, I see you raising your hand.
Yes, I am. And I know that I have had conversations, Mayor, with you, and I've done a lot of reflecting on this. And like I said, I've done a lot of reflecting on this. I have had mixed emotions on it because I believe our original goal was to have our employees vaccinated, and we were trying to incentivize them to do that. And that has not been accomplished with great success. I believe our vaccination rate is in the 66%, I believe is what we were told last week. However, the way this is written, I do respect the fact that 66% of our employees did get vaccinated, and I would like to honor the idea that they would be getting a day off. I appreciate that they have all of next year to complete that. So I will be supporting this resolution. My one question is the way it's worded, because we did this a few months ago, is it said fully vaccinated. And I want to be very clear, and I don't know the answer, but I want to be very clear. Is that 1, 2, or including a booster shot when we say fully vaccinated? I want the employees to know exactly what the expectation is.
I think the intent is, well, it could be one shot if you have Johnson & Johnson, but it depends on the source of the vaccination. But Debbie is collecting or is maintaining a spreadsheet and examining those documents, and there's likely to be more examination and actually probably some collection of those documents as it relates to the president's order as we're going forward. And I know it might not be this week, but in the coming weeks, based on your action today, we're going to send an all staff message out related to this, related to the fact that, the governor has not at this time put anything more restrictive than the president's order. We are today not an employer of 100 employees, but based on the budget that you've approved, sometime very shortly after the first of the year, due to the approved FTEs that we have authorized, we will be an employer with over 100, an employer with over 100 employees. So we're going to work towards, we have to work towards compliance with the president's order. And we're examining the test, the test out, the testing option and what that could look like. More to come on that. But I think it's time to start. Debbie and I've talked earlier, as a matter of fact, yesterday, about what that message is going to look like, but we wanted to marry it with whatever the action was that came tonight as we start to communicate with our employees how we're going to manage this. So
I would like to just interject and then allow the other council members to speak. But what I heard you say is that the city is very close and would anticipate within the next 6 months having 100 FTEs. That I'm just generalizing what you said. So there
I
is
think in the next 90 days.
in
I
the
would
next
hope.
90 days. So there is an incentive then for those employees who are not vaccinated to speed up that process so that they would have eligibility for the day off. They would have to have that done by the end of this year. So
Correct.
anyway, I think that helps support our original goal. Thank you.
You bet. Councilmember Diener?
So I will be supporting this as well. I think there was some discussion at a fair amount of discussion at the work study that a lot of people made up their minds about whether they were going to become vaccinated or not, and that a program like this or other similar programs wasn't necessarily moving people along. However, I think to do anything else would be done in bad faith, and so I intend on supporting this and applaud those who have taken the step to get vaccinated.
Thank you for your comment. Councilmember Lucarelli?
Yes, I also am in favor of this. I'm wondering though, should somebody get their first vaccination in a two-step vaccination before the end of the year, would they be qualified to receive the day off? Should they still get that second vaccination after the deadline?
I'm going to defer to Debbie how she's going to manage that. I don't know. I don't know that that's going to be a challenge. I think folks are vaccinated or they're not. And I think we're going to work with anybody that's working towards getting vaccinated, and we can demonstrate that, maybe even if they started the process in this month.
The resolution grants the mayor the authority to write the policy to implement. And I too had that thought cross my mind and haven't had a chance to talk to the mayor about it, but agree with the statement he just made. If somebody has both shots and just hasn't had the 14 days by the end of the year, it would be my recommendation to the mayor that we would honor their intent in order to allow that.
We're thinking alike once again. Councilmember Cacciardi?
That's Councilmember Lucarelli is exactly where I was going. You know, it could be where a few people may have seen this current 66% vaccinated rate, and you know, if they were to go get vaccinated, maybe they felt like there wasn't enough others to reach that threshold where they would receive an incentive. And so, considering what we've all just talked about the last 30 seconds, I would be willing to make an amendment that extends the deadline for fully vaccination, the definition of that fully vaccination, to January 31st of 2022. Just considering the holidays and all of the stuff that's going on, it would just buy them, you know, a couple of extra weeks to get that second dose, just so it's subscribed in this particular resolution. And so, I guess with that said, I would recommend that I propose an amendment to extend the deadline to achieve the fully vaccinated status to January 31st, 2022 to receive this benefit.
Is there a second to that amendment?
That amendment.
Okay, we have a motion, an amendment by Councilmember Cacciardi, a second by Councilmember Clausen. And I'm going to hold the hand raised right now because we're going to deal with the amendment that's on the floor. And any questions or comments related to the amendment? Councilmember Rosapepe, you have a comment related to the amendment?
Yes, the amendment. The vaccine's been out since January, February. We've gone down this road where we've tried to get people to do the right thing. And I feel extending it is just one more trying to do the right thing down the road. And quite frankly, I can't support it. I think it's time for people to stand up and do the right thing now.
Okay. Comments related to the amendment? Okay, we have an amendment on the floor that would extend
Mr. Mayor, I have some comments.
Okay, go ahead.
I just want to support what Jay had to say. I think people have made up their mind by now. And I they're either on board or they're not. And I don't see the need to extend the deadline.
Okay, Councilmember Lucarelli.
Perhaps the language could actually say partially vaccinated with the intent to finish. I don't know. if somebody started the process by the end of the year? Just asking.
I think there's enough latitude in what's written that I could administer that. I could interpret it that way. So, Councilmember Cacciardi?
Yeah, just to kind of clarify my amendment, right? Part of what we're doing here tonight is to recognize those that have already done so. And so I think this captures that. But I guess my amendment is just because of the holidays that you're right. We got Thanksgiving, we got people away. We're just kind of running out of time. And so by an extension of 31 days, I don't think there's any disbenefit to anybody. But it really just provides just a little bit more of a room, if in this moment of time this changes anyone's mind, I think is where we're trying to get to.
Okay. So any more comments or questions related to the amendment? I'm going to ask you guys if you could take your hand down there, Sean. You either raise your hand, or I think this is going to be a split vote. So raise your hand or use the raise your hand feature. All in favor of the amendment, please say aye and raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
I have two. Those opposed to the amendment, say nay and raise your hand. I have 1, 2,
Nay.
3, 4, 5. So the amendment fails. Okay, we're back to the main motion. Is there any further debate or comment on the main motion? I see Councilmember Chang's hand raised.
I just wanted to add that I will support the new resolution, because I believe that we were trying to reward the people who had gotten the vaccination. And I had no idea when we voted on it that 90% would be so difficult to get to, but there's no reason to penalize the 66% who've done it in good faith. So I wholeheartedly support this new resolution.
Well, I'm hopeful that 70 or 75% that we're giving this benefit to. More are going to take advantage of this because there isn't an unattainable goal. So with that, the motion before you is, let's see here, adoption of a resolution amending resolution number 060-21, authorizing an additional one-time personal day holiday for employees fully vaccinated against the COVID-19 virus. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Is there anyone opposed? Would please say nay. Hearing none, the resolution passes. And hopefully we won't have to talk about this again.
Mayor, that's wishful thinking.
All right. I guess everybody's got to have a dream. So we're item H now. Adoption of resolution fixing the date of a public hearing on a petition to vacate city right-of-way, the northeast portion of an unopened Depot Street. We have Clerk Reinesser for this matter.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. Petitioner Stanley Smith and Alice Vasquez Smith of ISB Holdings LLC, owners of 1636 Bay Street, Kitsap County Tax Parcel Number 4027-002-001-0006, submitted a petition to vacate city right-of-way. The right-of-way is an unopened portion of Depot Street. It is directly adjacent to the petitioner's parcel to the northeast and is approximately 2,000 square feet in total area. The petitioners are joined in their petition also by Stanley Smith and Alice Vasquez Smith of ASD Sound Investments LLC. They are the owners of 1626 Bay Street, Kitsap County Tax Parcel Number 4027-003-008-0403, the parcel directly northwest of the portion of unopened Depot Street proposed for this vacation. I received a completed application conforming to the requirements of the Port Orchard Municipal Code, Chapter 2.08, including Section 12.08.010. This item went before the Land Use Committee at its October 21st, 2021 meeting. The Public Works Director supports this vacation as the city has no current or future plans to open this portion of Depot Street. The Land Use Committee recommends approval of this vacation. Pursuant to 35.79 of the RCW, requires that the city to adopt a resolution setting the date and time of a public hearing to hear and determine the petition to vacate the city's right-of-way. Staff is seeking direction from the council as to when they want to hold this public hearing to vacate the proposed city of right-of-way. The proposed resolution would be set for a hearing via Zoom and telephone for December 14th, 2021, which is at least 20 days from the date of this resolution if adopted tonight. Upon adoption of this resolution, staff will post proper notices of the date and time of the hearing and provide notice to adjacent property owners. With that, staff recommends that the council adopt a resolution setting a date and time of the public hearing on a petition to vacate a portion of the city's right-of-way, Depot Street, as described. The hearing is to be held Tuesday, December 14, 2021, at the regular council meeting held at 6:30 p.m. and directing the proper posting of notices of that hearing.
Councilmember Chang.
I move to adopt a resolution setting a public hearing for December 14th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. on a petition from Stanley Smith and Alice Vasquez Smith of ISB Holdings LLC to vacate a portion of unopened right-of-way, Depot Street.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilmember Chang, a second by Councilmember Rose Pepe, and I see a hand raised by Councilmember Kucharty.
Clerk Randerson, could I ask you that you pull up the map that you've provided in the packet?
I was just getting ready to pull it up.
And maybe just kind of mouse over kind of, the parcel that we're dealing with and the location of the unopened right of way, just to give people an additional advance notice of the property we're talking about.
Okay, so can everybody see the map on the screen?
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. So this here is State Route 166 that goes into Bay Street around Kentucky Fried Chicken is here, West Bay Center is here, and you come along Bay Street. So here is the petitioner's property. No, excuse me. This is the adjacent property. This is the petitioner's property. Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Okay. So the portion that we're vacating is this piece here. In the 70s, I believe, I'll have to double check the time frame, but this was a wider strip of right of way, and a portion of it was vacated. So the current owners are requesting that the rest of the street be vacated. So again, it's just this Depot Street one way. It's only vacating the street itself, nothing to do with the waters.
Councilmember Diener.
Thank you. I find one of the more informative maps that we could provide to ourselves and to the public is aerial imagery. So for the hearing, could we have aerial imagery showing that? I think it's nice to see quite often that there is simply no development that is occurring, and those maps show kind of what's really on the ground.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
It's driveway and parking lot that's there. I think the property owner's long-term plans is to vacate this so you can create a larger parcel and potentially redevelop the site.
Okay.
Because he owns both sides of this. Okay, so we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other comments or questions? Okay, you'll be voting on the adoption of a resolution fixing the date of a public hearing on a petition to vacate city right-of-way northeast portion of unopened Depot Street. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, the public hearing has been set. So we're to our last item, the approval of the November 9th, 2021 council meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the regular meeting minutes of November 9, 2021.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Diener, second by Councilmember Lucarelli. Any comments or corrections for those minutes? Hearing none, I believe I'll have an abstention by Councilmember Clausen. All in favor of approving those minutes, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? And I believe one abstention.
Aye.
All right, those meeting minutes have passed. We're to our discussion items. So we have, the first is Veterans Park. I'm disappointed that Commissioner Garrido couldn't be here tonight. This was added to our agenda at her request. But if Brandy, if you could have elevate, we've got some participants that have been very involved in this. Our Deputy Chief, Donna Main. I see Randy Screws from West Sound Utility District is out there too, and he's welcome to join us. And I saw Katie Cassad earlier, but she must have left us. So if you want to elevate Donna and Randy, just in case they have any additional comments they'd like to provide in our discussion earlier. Welcome, Randy. And Randy, if you don't know, is the general manager at West Sound Utility District, and West Sound Utility District has a wellhead that serves municipal water that is sited within Veterans Park. So that's why Randy is probably interested in this discussion. And Deputy Chief Main has been out numerous times as we visited the site. So she has some firsthand knowledge about it. I know Katie today forwarded to Ms. Robertson and myself a timeline of the documentation and activities that have happened that I forwarded to the City Council. Also some photos, current photos. We know that a few weeks back, probably almost a month ago, when our first code enforcement letter went out, the volunteer group removed about, I was told about 11 tons, so over 20,000 pounds of garbage out of the park. You can see from the photos that were shared with you earlier, and maybe Brandy, can you grab those out of my email and maybe share those, the trash photos that still exist there? And so a subsequent code enforcement letter has been issued. The deadline for compliance is the 29th of this month. And the county will be subject, I believe, to, correct me if I'm wrong, Jennifer, a $250 a day fine. We're also requiring that the county provide trash receptacles and sanitation facilities in there. There's pit privies and other means of people using not disposing of waste improperly. And we've got a municipal well in the area. We have wetlands and a stream in the area. And we just simply, and there's 100 or more people living in the county park, and it's impacting the neighbors of the park, because and in particular the Rockport community. The chief and the deputy chief and I went on a Saturday and spent a few hours with some very, very upset citizens, and rightly so. And we talked to them about what we can do and what we can't do, and try to develop an action plan. And there's really no way for anybody to access the open space on the backside of the Rockport development other than through the county park. And so I know Public Works is working on, we obtained a bid, and I'm likely going to bring that before council. It's nearly $50,000 for us to put a chain link fence along the along Mile Hill Drive, Highway 166, on the edge of the right of way along Veterans Park. So I think we're going to try to do what we can to prevent access from the right of way there. I would hope that the county would do something similar to prevent access into the wetlands, the stream, and the environmental damage, and the public health and safety violations that are happening. I wish the county would manage the park differently. That isn't in our control, but demanding that the public health and safety concerns be addressed are absolutely paramount. They have to happen. In particular, go back to that one photo at the top there, Brandy, the pile of refuse. Brandy, these aren't the right pictures. There's an email that went out today to me. If you could pull those, that's the pictures I would like, because these are from, what you're showing is from the cleanup. This is back in November 5th. There's some more recent photos than this. So if you could,
Rob, while she's looking for those, can I let everybody know that I work for Kitsap County. My boss's boss reports directly to the commissioners. I do not believe that I have a conflict of interest in this discussion item and any future actions, but if anybody feels that I should be recused, I'm willing to do that.
Appreciate you addressing that, Councilmember Diener. And I don't know that anybody feels you're conflicted here. If you do, speak up, and I don't hear that. So yeah, if you could just share that other document that was sent today, Brandy, from Katie.
Yeah, that's the one.
No, these aren't the right photos, Brandy. The photos, the group of photos are in my email from today.
They're dated today.
Yeah, here we go.
5/14?
These are the ones. Yes, these are.
Okay.
So these are the most, you can see the date on these as the 23rd. So this is after the cleanup. You can just go back to that other image and just stay on it if you could, Brandy. That's probably the most telling. You can see that the county has installed a Santa can. I understand there's one other Santa can. Well, you can see the two of them that they've installed. So that's a step in the right direction, but we've got to, I believe, secure the site better and clean up the mountains of trash that exist within the park. So, Mr. Bond, do you have something to add before I go to the council members?
Oh, I just wanted to apologize. I told Katie that she could leave because I didn't think we were going to cover this, so I misunderstood at the beginning of the meeting. But I can try to answer anything that you have in the way of code enforcement questions.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Rose Pepe.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm sure we'll have a robust discussion tonight, and I'm sorry that Commissioner Garrido is not here. In the notes that were sent to Council, Land Use Committee were on site last Friday to tour. Some of these pictures look very familiar from what we saw, and one of the things I think we also need is a little bit better discussion down the road on the Boise decision. I've been reading a couple of things on that. Unfortunately, I'll have to admit that they're online, but what we can do and can't do. But certainly when we come to health and safety of our citizens, I think that that's extremely important. And I'm glad that Randy's here tonight to talk. Jerry Lindbergh from the Utility District was going to be here. I had let him know that Charlotte was not, so he said that he would attend when she does a discussion items. But I'll leave my remarks there right now.
Yeah, and you're spot on, Councilmember Rose Pepe. There is the Boise decision that does handcuff local government a great deal when it comes to how we can deal with homelessness issues. But there is a carve out for public health and public safety, and that is what we're demanding action on. There's clearly a public health and safety concern here. We have a municipal water source, we have a wetland, we have a salmon stream, all within short distance of this mess. And that's not acceptable, and we aren't going to stand for it. So thank you for bringing that up. But that is there is an exemption from the Boise decision as it relates to public health and public safety, and we're pointing that out to the county. So, Councilmember Cacciardi.
Yeah, thanks. I just need to air a little bit of frustration. This is a significant public safety and public health crisis. There's no doubt about it. And we reached out to our South End County Commissioner Garrido, for her help. She selected today's date. As of this afternoon, she forgot that she accepted this date, but then recognized her mistake and then said she would be here. And then approximately 2 hours ago, basically says that she does not have internet access. She could have driven somewhere to get internet access to attend this meeting. I just feel like, she is just not engaged in what a problem this is. And it's absolutely unacceptable. And I'm tired of us trying to hide behind excuses not to do something, where we need to come together on these types of issues, especially when it's dealing with safety in our public health, to figure out what we can do. Right? We need to have the what we can do attitude. And I'm just appalled that she's not here to represent that part of the conversation tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Diener.
So, obviously, when we're talking about this issue, there's no single magic bullet. There's people that are going to want to stay in the woods no matter what you do. And I've been a part of cleaning up some of the sites for a couple years now. But when we were walking the site with Katie, she also relayed some experiences that West Sound Utility District was having. And I want to make sure that the council understands what went down recently, or maybe the most recent couple times, when staff tried to go in and assure that the wellheads or that the facilities were working properly and testing them, and how, and this is all now hearsay on my part, but it became kind of confrontational as it regards maybe a car that was parked in the area or something. And so that, for me, that is a really vital part of this discussion to have, because, and Randy can correct me if I'm wrong, but what we were told is that a third of the service area could be impacted if we can't take care of our water.
So maybe this is a time for Randy to provide some comment on what impacts this homeless problem is causing to the operations of their facilities. Can you address that, Randy?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. West Sound Utility District operates 2 wellheads, a storage facility, a treatment facility, and pumping facilities for transmission of potable water services, which serve both residents within the incorporated city and outside of the city. This particular well site has 2 wellheads on it that we utilize. It equates to between 15 and 20% of our supply. Matter of fact, every customer downhill from Mile Hill on Beach Drive and that area there is being serviced by these 2 wells and this site. The issues that we have concerns over, obviously, are the unsanitary conditions in areas, the fecal matter. I won't get into details of some of the things that have gone on because they are hearsay, and I'm not sure of all the facts. And things were relayed from staff, and no one sat down and really provided me any detailed information. But some of the problems that we have had over the last month and a half. By the way, this has been an ongoing issue down there on the county park for approximately 2.5 to 3 years. Our staff has basically treated the unsheltered folks that are down there just like anyone else. We stay out of their business, they stay out of ours. Unfortunately, in the last month and a half, you did have a picture of shopping carts earlier. It seems that the inhabitants of the park area want to keep us out. They have blocked the access roads with shopping carts and debris. They've stacked stuff in front of our sites for our access. And a few weeks ago, I want to say about a month ago, I don't know how they did it, but they actually got a car down there and parked it in the road to block our access to that well site. Keep in mind that we need to visit those sites to keep them operational on a daily basis. Currently, due to safety concerns for our staff, we are only visiting Monday through Friday, and we are shutting those sites down because we don't want to incur any more labor costs for overtime to have multiple people go down and check those sites. Currently, staff is doubling up to go down to those sites. And then, of course, if there are any issues or perceived issues, we do contact law enforcement for escorts to get down to those sites. I did talk with Kitsap County Sheriff's Office and raised concerns about our staff safety and identified that we do need to visit these sites on a regular basis. While the county is working on a solution to this, and I am a little disappointed that Ms. Garrido did not make the meeting tonight, as you are. I do need to echo the sentiments of the mayor. But what we need is a solution before spring and fall. And the reason for that is because of the higher demand on the water system. beginning in that period is going to create some problems for us if we cannot maintain those facilities in an operational mode 7 days a week. We need something done. I don't know if it's going to mean Kitsap County escorts us on the weekends or a person that's going down there. But currently, we also run into a situation where we're not going to send our staff down there at night if we have an alarm issue. We will just remotely shut the site down. Currently, we know of no intrusions or any damage to our systems, but there have been fecal matter that have been spread on the access locks and the entry areas, kind of deterring our staff from coming down there. The amount of garbage and debris is phenomenal. We do test that water regularly, and we do chemically treat to ensure a safe, potable water distribution for the folks that are being served by it. But we have serious concerns about the unsanitary conditions and concerns that the county, in our opinion, does not seem to be addressing this as quickly as they should, considering the potential impacts of losing that water system because of any kind of contamination or vandalism or intrusion into the very small gated systems that we have to protect those infrastructure facilities.
Randy, I know I'm going out of order here, but can you just advise what's the, I'm not familiar with that part of the park, but what's the attractive value to people that wants to keep you out? Is it because it's flat and it's relatively unvegetated, or
it's on the south end within the woods is where the two wellheads are. And if you had the Kitsap County GIS maps, we could basically, I think they have those that are visible, not really clear, but they are visible. And so we have to go down basically in the middle of these encampments that are within the wooded areas that surround the facilities that we have in that area.
That's Bernardino. It's really about, I believe, about these people don't want anybody else down
yeah,
there.
they're becoming very territorial. When we did have the vehicle moved and the tow truck operator showed up, people came out of the woods and started beating on the tow truck. They've beat on our vehicles. There are some people that have, staff has to admit are nice and say hello and mind their own business. And there are others that have pretty much let them know that they don't want them in that area. So we need to maintain access to that area. And the county really needs to address this. And it's really a shame that Commissioner Garrido did not make it here tonight to fully understand the impact that is not only within our public park there, but the potential impact to both the city and the district's ratepayers because of this situation.
I share your frustration, Randy. So I see Councilmember Lucarelli's hand raised, and then I'll call on Councilmember Clausen.
Yes, if anyone was able to look at all of the photos that we've been supplied of the conditions in this particular park and the surrounding areas, people would be just appalled. It's not an unusual situation. It's not a few people in tents. This is like a city that's being built in there. There were photos that showed somebody who had all these bicycles, and it's probably bicycles that have been stolen and they're being cut up, and there's needles. This is such an extraordinarily horrible situation that we need to deal with it. It's really to a crisis situation, if you ask me. The feces, the buckets of feces, the feces just being thrown over the edges of things, go all the way down to the stream. The E. coli count was high, I believe. And, we have a situation that's really so dangerous and extreme, we need to deal with it. I can't believe the commissioners aren't here listening.
I know that public health is engaged in this conversation too, and is recently, well, I'm not privy to the letter. I believe that they've also written a letter to the commission, to the county, also related to the public health concerns in the stream. So Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, I just, a few questions. Do we have any idea how many homeless folks are in that area? Obviously, by pictures, it seems like a lot, but
Yeah, I believe over 100, John.
oh my goodness.
The number that Katie had given us when we on Friday was they had estimated up to 130.
Wow. Yeah, this is just unacceptable, completely unacceptable. County's got to do something. Thank you.
Councilmember Cacciardi.
Yeah, just to add on to my last comments, and I know at the beginning of the meeting, we talked about bringing this back to a work study, which is great. This should be a standing agenda item on our council agendas until this is resolved. But the thought of kicking this to next year is absolutely unacceptable. I would be willing to volunteer to attend a special meeting on this, if it's tomorrow, if it's next week, if it's Christmas Eve. If multiple council members would like to join, we can public notice that. But the issues of public safety, public health, laws being broken, this cannot wait. And so, again, the magnitude of this, to think that these volunteers came in and cleaned out 22,000 pounds of rubbish and trash, and there's still this much left over. This is an absolute crisis in our city. This needs immediate action. I will step up and be willing to be a part of the solution to figure out what we can do, but it cannot wait. Absolutely cannot wait. This meeting needs to be scheduled immediately, and I would recommend that it stays on our agenda until it's resolved. And there's a big difference between the homeless crisis and this crisis, right? There's two different things. When we're dealing with public safety, public health, and basically, people that are breaking laws, it's entirely different than the homeless crisis.
The per our code enforcement action, the county has till the 29th. I will reach out to Commissioner Garrido tomorrow and see if she can attend our next council meeting potentially versus waiting till the January work study. Councilmember Rose Pepe.
Mayor, is it possible to reach out to the other two commissioners also? I'm not sure that they're aware of this, and certainly
they certainly are. And as you know, as you're probably aware, our county commissioners treat the districts as silos. They really, that's just the way that they operate. And so I have had conversation with both the other commissioners, and when I write correspondence related to this, Commissioner Gelder is the current chair, and I direct that communication to him when I write to the commissioners.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ashby.
Yes, I'm going to echo and support what Councilmember Cacciardi said. And I know that you just said perhaps we could do this, invite Commissioner Garrido to our next council meeting. That's December 14th. And that is too late. That is absolutely too late. I think I can count, and I know Fred probably has the exact number, but we have at least, I can think of 6 tiny homes sitting in church lots in Port Orchard. And those have never been deployed. It is absolutely beyond me why this situation is the way it is. And waiting until December 14th is not acceptable to me. I think we need to have something sooner, and like Councilman Cacciardi, I will make myself available whenever you want to have a meeting with our commissioners. And I would definitely invite all 3 of them to be there.
Okay. I will do so. Councilmember Diener.
Thank you. I too will support whatever needs to be done. It has reached kind of a crisis level. My next question is really maybe one for the chief or Donna, and this may mean making some assumptions, but if the county sheriffs have to trespass people out of the wellhead area because of their actions, and they simply move to another part of the park, and they don't leave, they're then subject to arrest. Is that an accurate understanding?
Well, it is a little bit more complex than that, sir.
Okay.
And I was going to address this a little bit later on in the meeting. They can certainly be subject to arrest if the ordinances are changed, the county ordinances about remaining in the parks after dark. The Boise decision, as you are all familiar, says that you can't criminalize homelessness, and if there aren't facilities in which to take people or ask them to go to stay, they are allowed to stay on public property. The other issue that comes up is the jail has a certain capacity limit. I did speak to the Chief Penny Sapp today. Those type of things, such as trespassing, folks would be what's called administratively booked, which means they show up, they are fingerprinted, and then they're subsequently released. They are not held in custody, which creates a cascade of other issues. So if you have somebody who is, let's even just say they're illegally camping in the park, they're not allowed to be there after dark. If we arrest them, we take custody, or the county would have to take custody of all of their property, keep it safe for them somewhere, make sure it doesn't rot, especially in the winter when it's wet. And then these folks would be administratively booked. They would be in, they'd be out, and now they have to make an appointment to pick up their stuff, which takes anywhere between 2 and 5 days. So there are some difficulties with that, as unfortunate as it is. And the other aspect too is that if you're unhoused and you don't have the financial ability to pay fines, there is little deterrent when fines are imposed or you are placed in custody. Does that answer your question? I know it's not good news, but does that answer?
I mean, it paints an even more dire situation than we already have. But I appreciate the straightforwardness of which you've addressed it. So thank you.
Yeah, I apologize. I can't bring you good news. I can only bring you news.
Councilmember Chang, I see your hands raised, and then I'll call on Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, I completely agree with Sean that this is dire and we need to meet sooner rather than later. And I would be happy to participate in that meeting. I was actually encouraged at looking at some of the correspondence from Katie Casada to the county that she did set forth a couple of measures, and I am disappointed that they're not yet in place. One of them was adding the dumpsters so that the trash could be placed in the dumpsters. When we visited on Friday, we did see a dumpster, and Katie was surprised that it's present. She hadn't seen it before. We were disappointed that no porta potties were yet installed, because that is something that has to happen to provide an outlet for sanitation. And I do have one thing that I don't quite agree with Sean on, and that is that this is a crisis of sanitation and public health. However, I think it is not separate from the homeless issue. I think it's unfortunately way too entwined. And I hope that we can certainly get to a solution soon, but just kicking people out with no place to go is not one of them.
Councilmember Clausen.
Yeah, two things. I totally agree with Sean, and if at all possible, I certainly will make myself available as well whenever we can get a meeting with the county. I also don't want to lose his recommendation that this needs to be on our agenda every meeting until we get some kind of solution. It's too easy to respond now and then let it go off to the wayside. The other question I have is, Mayor, do you have any update on the county is establishing a facility up on top of Mile Hill for homeless? And I know there's supply chain issues I've read. I don't know if you have any information on that at all.
Yeah, I know it's taking longer than they want to, and I know it's going to be well after the first of the year before they're open. I don't have. Commissioner Garrido hopefully would have likely been able to provide us some information on that, but I don't have accurate information on that. I know that it's been delayed. They're having, due to construction material delays, and supply chain issues. I did have a conversation with Commissioner Gilder today about another matter, and this, of course, came into our conversation as it always does. I got from him that they are on the cusp of passing some sweeping legislative changes, and that are going to be discussed tomorrow at their work study. So they're, and what he shared with me was they're working on solutions. What I shared with him, what they're working on isn't fast enough for me, and that we're serious about what's in our code enforcement letter, and we desire much more than that, but they have to comply with the health and public safety elements related to our enforcement letter. I think they're headed down a path that we've already taken, which the first step is the soft approach, which is a navigator, someone similar to our navigator. They don't currently have one, and they're headed down that path, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get that person hired. And once they have that person hired, they're going to, as we have done, we continually visit this site with our navigator, and a couple of people have taken us up on services. We've heard there's more than 100 people there. More than 100 people are comfortable with this way of lifestyle, and it's being enabled and by the county, and it just simply can't happen in the manner that it's happening in our community. And these pictures are unacceptable, and I've communicated that. Obviously, we're gonna need to have more dialogue that and that conversation that I welcome you giving the same message that I'm giving to the county commissioners. I am, but I'm in a privately. So now we can do that publicly. And I've lost track of who's next here. Chief Brown raised his hand. I think I'll go to him before I go to additional council members.
Thank you. I was going to second what the mayor says, that we have been down there with the navigator. I have been down there myself. I can certainly toss the torch to Deputy Chief Main. But I also want to echo what Councilmember Chang said. Being unhoused is not a criminal issue. We spoke to a number of people who work full-time. They definitely have their struggles, but they are working full time, and the only option that they have is to live in the woods. There are some that are taking our navigation to services, and there are some that are not. I just want to say how much I appreciate the fact that the mayor and the council and our partners in DCD and with code enforcement, we're approaching this holistically and not treating it as a criminal issue at this point, because they are people, but we also owe it to them not to allow them to live the way that they are living. We owe it to our community not to have this type of risk in our parks. So again, thank you. And Deputy Chief Main is also, like she's indicated, is here and is able to comment on that. So thank you.
Councilmember Rosa Pippy.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to say I fully support what Sean has said, and I'll be more than glad to bring that up. I think that's been strongly echoed by all the council. But I'd also like to hear the next time we talk about this a little bit more in depth on the legal aspects of Boise, because again, as I said, I've been reading a little bit, and the more I read, it sounds like there are tools that we can put in our toolbox to address some of these issues for when people do violate safety and health. I know there's a carve out for that, but I think there's also some other measures that we can do for people who do not wish to comply with the safety and health aspects. And thank you.
I think that legal risk will likely be done in an executive session, if that's the desire, to have some dialogue related to legal risk and the Boise decision. So I'm happy to do that. So I'm going to call on Councilmember Kachardi, then Councilmember Diener, and then Councilmember Clausen. You're muted, Sean.
Councilmember Roseby, I second that. I would love to have an executive session to, have our council talk us through, kind of this Boise decision. Again, getting back to what we can do versus the focus on what we can't do. And, Councilmember Chang and Chief Brown, I absolutely appreciate and respect the comments about homelessness, and don't take my comments for being anything but for that. But we do know that there is public safety issues, public health issues, and criminal activity that's occurring. And that's very, very different. And I want to focus what we can do to stop the public safety issue, stop the public health issue, and stop the criminal activity. And so again, that's where I say there's a difference of what's going on here, and just wanted to reiterate that fact. Thank you.
Councilmember Diener.
So the first thing I'll point out is that I was aware that Commissioner Greedo and the DCD director wanted to take the Mile Hill shelter to a public hearing. Some time ago, that public hearing was supposed to be in the fourth quarter of the year. Obviously, it slipped, but my understanding is that the permit requirement for the shelter is administrative in nature, but our code authorizes the director to kick it to a public hearing if they feel it's worthwhile to do so. So my understanding is that there will be a public hearing on the Mile Hill shelter, and that at that point, obviously, it'll have to have been very well framed out by the commissioner and what her vision is. I just don't have any more information about when that is to occur. And then the other question I had for the mayor was, you indicated some sweeping changes being discussed at work study. Are you able to inform a little bit more about what those are?
No, I don't know. I don't know what
Okay.
they are.
Okay, well,
county commissioners are crafting policy, county policy, to change how they address homeless issues. That's all Commissioner Gilder, and they're having a work study session on it. And he didn't share any more than what I shared with you. And I know what I shared
Okay.
with him is we need to move faster than that.
and obviously those are public meetings that people can attend remotely or
Yes.
in person too.
Yes. Councilor McClosson?
Yeah, just a couple things. I think one of the things that complicates this is that this is a county park. So it makes it a little bit more challenging for us, but that still doesn't relieve them of their responsibility, nor our responsibility of staying on top of this thing to make sure that it gets taken care of. The other one is and I kind of raise that in light of the Boise. I mean, it would be great to get information on that so we understand, but this is something that we've got to get the county to address, since it's their part. And the other issue I was going to bring up, but Sean already brought it up, I agree with Fred's comment about this is a combination of issues, but it still is a safety and environmental issue, from not only the garbage and protecting the wellheads, but also the creek and all the feces that's getting dumped in that creek. So a lot of issues.
Okay. Any last comments or questions? I will reach out to the county commissioners tomorrow.
Yeah, also I think it might be worthwhile to reach out to Alex. I'm probably not going to pronounce his last name correctly. Wazinski, the Parks Recreation Director for the county.
I don't think this is at a policy level. For us to invite county staff is not, this is, if we're going to have a meeting, if the county commissioners choose to bring Doug Washburn or their parks director, so be it. And to explain how they're going to manage this, but it's no different than the county commissioners aren't going to reach out to our staff and ask and demand things of them. That just simply doesn't work that way.
That's fine. I thought he had been invited to tonight's meeting already.
No, our county commissioner Garrido asked for this to come address the council this evening, and this specifically was put on the agenda at her request.
Okay.
Mayor,
Councilmember Rosa Pepe.
Yeah, sorry. It looks like on the county's website that the meeting, they have a whole host of meetings, but it looks like it's scheduled 11 a.m. To talk about unauthorized encampment policy discussion. So that looks like when the meeting's going to be there. I'm going to go to that meeting. I don't know if any other council members to attend where we would need to.
Is that tomorrow, Jay?
It says the 24th. That's correct. So I'll be there. I don't know if other, we would have to have a notice if more than 3 of us were there.
Yes, you would.
Okay.
Well, I will be attending because I think I have an issue in front of them right before that, but I'm just going to hang on. So.
And Jennifer the legal counsel can correct me if I'm wrong, but because we don't have 24 hours notice to notify the public that there will be 4 or more in attendance, I would highly encourage no more than 3 council members attend tomorrow's meeting.
I agree with that. Thank you very much, Brandy.
So if we were attending by Zoom, does that count? Yes, that counts as attendance.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
It does.
Yeah.
Do we want to do rock, paper,
Well,
scissors?
I'll tell you what, I can leave my issue when it's over on behalf of others who would like to attend. And then I'll just catch the recording of that later.
Mayor, you could be able to attend.
I have meetings all morning already scheduled tomorrow morning. So I didn't know when it was. I knew it was coming. I believe it's their work study though. It's not something we're going to be providing
Right.
opportunity. It's no different than our work study. You'd be observing.
I'm mostly thinking of being able to report back to the rest of the council, but I guess we can watch the recording of it later.
Yeah. So it sounds like Councilmember Rosa Pepe was going to attend. Are there others? Are there 2 others that wish to attend that tomorrow at 11? I see Councilmember Ashby's hand raised. Is that because you want to attend?
That's
Okay,
correct.
That's 2. Is there a third?
Yeah, I will not attend just because I'll watch it. Otherwise, there's no opportunity for us to engage, but I cannot wait for the next available meeting to engage and really talk about solutions.
If there's not a third, I'll attend.
Okay, so there's our third. We
And
got-
the other thing I would say is if someone else wanted to go, because I won't be engaged next year, I would be glad to give up my seat.
I'm not hearing someone else is available at that time tomorrow, so you're welcome to attend. Okay, are we done with this issue this evening? So next action steps, obviously the county is taking some sort of action on a policy change. And I was assured that it was a step in the right direction by Commissioner Gilder. And I'm going to be reaching out to Commissioner Gilder tomorrow, since he's the chair of the commissioners board, and schedule a public meeting with the 3 county commissioners and the city council at the earliest possible date. All right. With that, I think we're done with this issue for tonight. Hopefully the next item is a little lighter. We have the holiday light tour. Clerk Reinerson, what do you have to share with us on that?
I am just putting this on the council's radar to see what they would like to do this year. Do they want to do a tour? Do they want to take?
Oh, the Christmas lights. That's what this is about, touring Christmas lights. And, challenging for everybody to get into a van. I guess we could if we all want to wear masks, because it would be a city function and we're not family members. We're almost like family. We see each other a lot. It's your call. I probably wouldn't attend. I'm not probably that comfortable with riding around a van for 3 or 4 hours, but what are the others thoughts on that? Councilmember Chang, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, I would not want to attend in person, but I think it might be helpful to have the city's Facebook page put out a contest, and just try to get more people behind that. We know it's not going to reach everybody, but it'd be nice if we could have a contest where people just send in pictures of their neighbors' homes. Maybe we could encourage
good idea.
The person who does the most photos would win something as opposed to the best house or something like that.
We can solicit photos from on our with a Facebook post and then post them on our city website. So I see Councilmember Kachardi's hand raised.
Yeah, I was just saying last week during our work study, we talked about the tool we already have in place with the kind of click it and report it. You know, we could also do something like this where people just from our city could take a photo as they're out and about and submit it through the city's portal on the click it, report it.
Yeah,
See click fix.
I'm not sure if we could use See Click Fix that way, but we'll look into it. And how we whether they just submit the photo to the clerk's office or not might be easier, because that's a public works tool.
It was Dorsey that brought that up, that it could be used for different things, but it would be worth, I guess, investigating it. Just so easy to use, that might be an easy portal. Okay,
all right, we'll check into it. Mr. Dorsey's on vacation, of course, right now, but we'll look into it. Councilmember Diener.
So I wouldn't attend a van ride. I've got my own concerns about that as well, but I do like the idea of a competition, and so I'm hoping we get some good submissions.
Okay, and we could easily create a page on our website. So Councilmember Lucarelli.
So we tried that last year.
Yeah, it didn't work, but we'll try again.
And so, you know, at the very least, I think some of us should go out and take some photos. There's a beautiful display on Sydney, my word, just a block up from your place. So I think that we have to be a little more proactive, because the Christmas cheer, whatever the holiday cheer is, getting the word out there, and it takes a little bit of effort. A lot of people don't know about sending the photos to the city and all of that. So
you're absolutely correct, though. There's nothing to prevent from council members from going out and taking pictures and submitting photos.
Sure. We had in the past categories too, and it would be good to know what those are.
Okay, I'll get that information out.
Okay.
I also
send it to the clerk's office so that we can create those categories.
And I'm not so sure that it has to be a competition as more as just a holiday light experience in Port Orchard.
Be nice to have a picture and an address. So you see the picture, because the pictures don't always do it justice. So if you see something that if I were a citizen, I'm not sure I would want someone putting my address there. Okay. But general neighborhoods or something like that. But yeah, it would be easy to go out and take some pictures of some of the beautiful displays that we have. Yeah, so maybe a neighborhood. And that way, when if you're looking for, we got a whole bunch in a particular neighborhood, and maybe we try to group them in neighborhoods. I don't know. I'm creating a whole gigantic project for the clerk's office, and she just shoot me in the morning, but that's okay.
So adding to that, maybe Brandy can set up an email address like Christmas Lights PO or something that people just email to, or they could email them to City Hall at cityofportorchard.us, something like that. Easy to remember.
Okay. We'll get on it. I think this will involve IT too, and a laserfish project. I know Noah's always looking for things to do with his group. It's poking the bear. So, all right, we'll get on it. We'll talk about this tomorrow at the staff meeting. Let's see, council committees. I'm a little out of touch here since I was out of town on vacation. So economic and development, have you met?
Next meeting, December 13th, 9:30 a.m.
Perfect. Utilities? Did you have a meeting?
Yes. No, December 14th. We didn't have one this month.
Okay. And land use. Have you had a meeting in the last couple weeks?
We did last week. We had two topics. The first one was a follow-up on fireworks, and Nick and his team is putting together some information that we'll be bringing back in January/February timeframe, including when we'll be doing public outreach, but we know that we need to get this going sooner than later. We also had a discussion on changes in park rules that was only heightened by our discussion tonight, and those will be coming to the council shortly. So that's all we had. We won't have another meeting till after the committee changes in January, because DCD is rocking and rolling.
That they are. But so is every other department in the city.
Yes.
Let's see here. Next committee, Festival of Chimes and Lights. Is there one?
So everybody, 5 to 8 o'clock, December 4th, we are actually having our festival. It's a slow rolling drive-through. We have a route. There'll be a large map printed in this week's newspaper. And so please come out and drive through the city. We're going to have Santa along the way in a sleigh of sorts that's completely enclosed, so it won't be attracting gatherings of people. And we're decorating as much as we can. Public Works has done an amazing job. The tree out in front of City Hall is beautiful. And so we're going to have music. The chimes are going to play on the half hour. And this is what we can do in this COVID year. So please support this event. Also, right after Chimes and Lights, part of the events is they'll be hiding sand dollars, holiday sand dollars, and rocks. I know that sounds funny, but rocks of cheer. Many rocks have been painted and sand dollars have been painted. Anybody who finds a sand dollar can take it to the library and get a token prize. And it's going to be on the website where the areas are going to be, where these are hidden. Again, just fun stuff. And of course, the downtown Port Orchard Bay Street organization is going to be having quite a lot downtown. So we're trying to make the downtown and our city as festive as we can in the midst of COVID once again. So do show up December 4th, 5 to 8, anytime in there.
Okay. Finance Committee, you met last week.
We did, and we talked about some of the actions that we took tonight in regards to the budget amendments and some of the actions we took with the water credits. We also talked about the sales tax. Sales tax is continuing to come in above expectation, but it is slowing down a little bit. So something that we just need to keep an eye on. I mean, slowing down, it's slowed down to just shy of 12% over a year ago's collection. So, but the one that was probably most noticeable was the REIT money. The collections that we had for October was down pretty significant compared to the previous October. So things are starting to slow down, but they're still kind of in a positive situation there. We went through the various fund balances and they're all very strong. We're going to end the year with healthy fund balances, and our monthly budget report was very positive as well. So those are the things that I can remember. Sean, Beck, did I miss something? I think that must be it, because they're shaking their head. Noah, how about you? Did I miss something?
No, I think you got it all.
That's it. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Transportation Committee was scheduled to meet tonight, and the meeting was canceled. So look forward to the report potentially next month.
Right. Can I just interject there?
Yes, you may.
To the other Transportation Committee members? Our normal meeting in December would be on December 29th, and we're not having a council meeting that night. So I've asked Chris to find a date that's convenient for all of us earlier in the month. So please be expecting communication from Chris to see when we could get together for a planning meeting for next year.
Okay. So on to the mayor's report. I've got 3 items, and it was shared with me yesterday that, and maybe you guys already know about this because it may have been reported to you, but I learned it. And so I wanted to report on this. We received $1.2 million from TIB here recently for the second roundabout at the Lincoln and Bethel, for the Lincoln and Bethel project. So we're all well on our way to now the 2 roundabouts that we're designing and hoping for. So Chris has a major meeting with Puget Sound Energy. One of our biggest challenges that is getting the transmission mains that are in the way moved in a timely manner. And Puget Sound Energy is having labor challenges and material challenges just like everybody else. So they're the lead time for on these types of projects is fairly lengthy. So he'll have a meeting with them next month to see when we're going to be able to go to construction on that. But I understand designs are advancing nicely, and that reason to celebrate that we got another award of $1.2 million. I'm spearheading an effort, related to this homelessness issue. We've got these derelict boats that are in the water, and I know the police are continuing to work that issue, but it's really DNR's responsibility. And I've worked with our lobbyist to craft a letter to the governor that the DNR is requesting a larger portion of the vehicle registration that would more than double their funding. And I think it's an appropriate way to use those vessel, I said vehicle, but I intended vessel registrations. And so I've circulated a letter today. As a matter of fact, I sent it to Councilmember Clausen in his role at Kitsap Transit. Kitsap Transit, all 3 county commissioners, all 4 mayors, and the Port of Bremerton will sign the letter. I just heard this evening from Chairman Forsman from the Suquamish tribe, and I'm waiting to hear back from the Port of Kingston. I'd like them to sign on the letter too. So hopefully next week I'll start circulating that letter and get everybody to sign it and get it submitted to the governor to ask for him to put in his supplemental budget the additional funding to DNR to deal with these derelict vessels. And we'll of course engage our lobbyist, and I'll encourage the other cities to do the same as we combat this issue. The last is, Randy was here earlier. I should have done this earlier. I've got an award here. Let's see if I could. I have to turn my background off for you guys to see it. Background, none. So here's an award, and we've got it to the right side, that we received from the State Department of Ecology related to the operation of the sewer treatment plant. The letter that came with the award is been posted on our website. So I just want to commend Randy and his team at the treatment facility for their safe and responsible operation of our sewer treatment plant, because we were recognized by the Department of Ecology. So that ends my report. And I have department directors. So let's see here. Mr. Crocker's probably had the opportunity to speak the least tonight, so I'll call on him first.
I have nothing further to report tonight.
Wow. And City Attorney, Ms. Robertson, do you have anything to report?
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let the council know I absolutely heard you, and I will work with City Attorney Archer to make sure that you are fully briefed on options and legal parameters for the enforcement activities at Veterans Memorial Park. And then I wanted to wish all of you a very happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. And Clerk Reinerson.
I don't have anything more to add tonight, other than have a great holiday.
Okay. Chief Brown, what do you have to share with us?
Oh, I have a whole bunch. So I erred, and I apologize. I left the office today, and I forgot our Accreditation Award. So last week on Wednesday evening in front of WASPIC, which is the Washington Association of Sheriffs and Police Chiefs, the Port Orchard Police Department was awarded for the first time in its history state accreditation. So as we've discussed before in front of all of you guys, it's 137 or 139 standards, but we have met them all, and we are in the top 20% of the entire state. And my understanding is that this is the only county out of 39 where all local law enforcement agencies are accredited. That is a huge accomplishment. I take zero credit. Our administrative services division and our operations division heavily pulled the plow. And I can't even tell you how proud I am of all the men and women of the Port Orchard Police Department, and as should you.
Chief, I just have to stop you there. Yes,
Yeah.
they did the work. You provided the leadership. So this is partly yours too, and you should be proud of it.
Yes,
I appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you. This goes into the next part of my department head brief. So we kind of discussed it a little bit earlier tonight about the jail standards. So I won't run that into the ground. They have been slowly relaxing. I did speak to Chief Sapp and Sheriff Giese about that. But the reality is that even with some of the lessened COVID restrictions, they do have the same staffing issues that all of us in law enforcement have. So for misdemeanors, it is harder for us to arrest and book and maintain individuals in custody. We do have an agreement that if we have someone that is causing some issues, that we may be able to call and say, hey, can you hold on to them just for the night so we can help them to solve their issues, or maybe get them to the navigator or any of the other resources we may have. But that does restrict us from arresting for misdemeanors. We have been working on stats. I wasn't able to get everything for the council today, but we are going to start providing a monthly crime statistics report to the council at council meetings. When we looked at what's going on in the city and we looked at how the crime rate is going, what we are experiencing is an issue with property crimes and some other what are called type A crimes that we've discussed in some of our other council meetings, and those are persons, property, and society crimes. So property crimes in particular, we are at double what we were from 2019. There has been an increase. Some of that is naturally due to an increase in population. If you increase the number of people who live within a community, there's going to be a rise in crime. One of the struggles that we are having is that we are, even though we only have 2 positions that are not filled, we have 5 positions that don't have anyone in the field. And because 3 of those positions are in training or they are in the academy. So we only have 2 in the field at any one time. So one of the things that we have been working with our community members when they call and they have concerns about crime or other issues, we deal with the public safety issues or the life safety issues. There may be circumstances where we have to call and say, hey, we are coming, but it's going to be several hours before we can come out and take your burglary call, your vehicle prowl call, your other property crime call, because we have to manage life safety issues and we still have to do our work. While that may be frustrating, it certainly is frustrating to me, it's frustrating to our team. We have to manage our time to be effective within the community. So we are starting to see some of those issues, and I wanted to make sure that the council was aware. I do appreciate the fact that you're allowing us to hire at the rate that we are hiring. Like I said, we have 3 phenomenal new officers. The first will be in the field on his own January 14th. We have 2 that are currently in the academy. These are some of the best and brightest that we've been able to find. We have another lateral that is in the background process that we would expect probably within the next probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, we'll be completing that background process. And then, so we're looking at 6 to 8 weeks before he is in the field, at least in training. There are a lot of people that want to come here. It just is going to take some time. That's just the process that we have. But we are experiencing the same increase in criminal behavior as the rest of the state and the rest of the region. And I wanted to make sure that I'm putting that out to all of you. So if you have questions about how we respond or why we respond, or if your constituents have questions, it's out transparent and public. Thank
And
you.
I want to share too, these staffing challenges, we want to make sure that we hire the right people. We're willing to, we would welcome lateral transfers. And we've got one that we're going through the process with. We've started processes on a number of officers and they don't meet our standards. We don't want to take somebody else's problem in our community. And so it's unfortunate our staffing is where it's at. I don't want to make light of it, that it's, we are better off than many other communities. I know that Paulsbo at this, at least hopefully they've got it solved, but there's a point in time and they could be still in this situation. They don't have any police protection on Graveyard because of their staffing situation is so dire. You know, well, 2 isn't enough. At least we have 2 people working graveyard shift in the city of Port Orchard, and we can deal with the most dire situations. We want to get to where we're fully staffed. We're working as hard as we can. And I've talked to the finance committee about surge hiring, but because we've got 3 people in the works. We've got 2 more positions we're trying to hire for. But unfortunately, by the time we get to these other 2 that are in the academy, we're likely next year going to have another officer or 2 retire. And this, we've been chasing this as long as I've been the mayor. And so if we can identify the right candidates, we want to be able to, hire some people that are, so that we can get on top of this and hire beyond our complement, because we know additional retirements are coming. So don't be surprised when I bring that to you, hopefully next year. But we've got to, I don't want to, it doesn't do any good to me to bring a resolution to do that if we don't have candidates to hire to move to the academy. So, we're talking about this, we're working it, and we need to do a better job, I guess, communicating, in particular to our community, what our challenges and what we're doing to address our challenges. So, Councilmember Diener.
Yeah, it was probably a little more than a couple months ago, I think, maybe, that the chief came and gave us a presentation on state legislation that was going into effect like within 10 days, I think it was, of that time. And I also understand that there's now kind of a look back on some of that, and we are, or chiefs and cities and jurisdictions around the state are looking at trying to maybe make some positive changes to that legislation. Will we be able to learn a little bit more about what's happening in that arena?
Well, it's on your legislative agenda that you're going to pass in 2 weeks. Okay. And we are engaged in that. And we want, at least we hope that the letter of the law that was passed was not necessarily the intent. And we want to maybe, shift that line to more to where the intent was, but we have to police to what the letter of the law says.
Yeah, and I know that we had talked about, being supportive of changes, but I'd like to see what some of those explicit changes might be.
Yeah, it's really going to be an effort with our lobbyists and engaging with our police chief. And I know we've been trying to schedule a meeting with our Senator Randall, and our police chief, so that she hears it directly from our chief what the challenges are, versus Josh and I, who are not law enforcement professionals, trying to convey how we may have erred potentially, or they may have erred, not us.
And I will tell you, I again, I tell this group a lot. I appreciate the support that you guys have been giving us. So there were also some mitigation funds that were provided by the state for some of the new laws that came into effect. So we did just redeploy some less lethal tools. That final training for the entire group was last Friday. I attended myself, and they're great tools. And the design of those, the design is intended to be able to take people into custody once we have probable cause, where we don't have to use higher levels of force. So we are continuing to explore those options and be kind of at the forefront of a lot of these issues. Again, the accreditation piece was tremendous in getting us there, but your department is doing the things for your community that a lot of other places are struggling with, and the reason we're able to do that is because of your support.
Okay, Chief, anything else in your report?
No, sir, that's it. I appreciate the council's time.
Okay, thank you. I think I got to all the directors, and I know Mr. Bond wasn't feeling well, so he stepped out and took care of his items and stepped out this evening. So we are then to our second citizen comment period. So this is the opportunity for citizens to address the council on anything that comes to their mind. They would have 3 minutes to address the council. And if you use the raise your hand feature, the clerk will recognize you and bring you into the meeting.
Mayor, at this time, I don't see anybody raising their hands.
All right. We're now to the good of the order portion of the meeting. And do I have any good of the orders that the council would like to raise?
I just have a quick question. How are we doing on staffing of DCD? Any good candidates out there? I know you've been away, but
I've heard that there's a couple candidates that we're going to be interviewing. I talked to Nick about that, matter of fact, yesterday. So,
all right,
got a couple, but we haven't interviewed anybody. I know finance is doing second interviews on a position that they have. And those are the two that are top of mind, that we're getting close to potentially hiring somebody or making employment offers on. So Councilmember Rosepepe.
Just real quickly, besides wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving, just a reminder that Saturday is Shop Small days. And I know a lot of people from POPSA, the meeting last week, were very excited to get that word out. And so hopefully we'll see everybody down there on Saturday shopping small.
And I would just like to acknowledge Councilmember Ashby as our mayor pro tem for filling in for the last 2 weeks. You know, I sometimes take a day or two off, but I usually always have my phone with me, and much to my wife's chagrin, I work more often than I should. And my 2-week vacation, I never talked on my phone for 2 weeks, and it was a very nice break. I greatly appreciate all of you, and in particular Councilmember Ashby for covering for me as the mayor pro tem and allowed me a much needed break. So thank you. So with that, our meeting is adjourned this evening. And
happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy